I think one of the big things that we both saw, and one thing that was actually very difficult was just we both grieved very differently, and whereas Angie, there was a continuous grieving. There were times where, for me, days or weeks could go by and I would be okay, and then there would be certain circumstances, certain things where
Just
it would just hit me.
trigger
Yeah,
you.
what
Yes.
would happen, and that was really hard for both of us. For me, just thinking, okay, why am I not, crying all the time, or why am I not hurting all the time? And I think for Angie, well, do you love her the way that I love her? And
Right.
so it was real. There were a lot of times where it was really difficult in our marriage. Just the grieving process that way. And for me too, with all my kids, I adore my kids, but until they're born, it's been very hard for me to connect with them completely.
Sure.
And so once Ellie and Abby were born, then they were mine. Once,
That's the twins.
yes, once Katie was born, okay, and so with Audrey, the connection that Angie had just naturally,
By
with her being
carrying
in
this
the womb,
child
yeah,
within her. Yes.
it wasn't the same, for me. And so when I finally got to hold her and see her, there was a big change for me.
A bonding.
Absolutely.
There have been many occasions when people who don't have that same hope have been genuinely perplexed by the way that I've walked through it. And it started on early in my pregnancy that I started seeing doors to ministry open up that I didn't want to miss. We were at the grocery store and someone asked me about the baby, and I had very commonly had an answer that I always used to say, we're expecting another daughter, and I kind of would leave it alone at that. Just didn't realize that it was a ministry opportunity. And a few times I said, she's due in May, she isn't expected to live, we're going to carry her as long as God will allow us. And it was incredible how many people would instantly,
Well, first, yes, they don't know what to do with that
don't know.
at first.
They don't
Yes.
know. But it's one of those things where you may not be a believer, but I'm standing next to you in frozen foods, and we're both grabbing waffles for our kids, and we obviously have something in common, and you know that this is sort of a strange decision based on what the world would say, and it just opened the door to people saying, and they would, why would you do that? Do you mind if I ask, or what's? And
So
there
people
were,
would.
they would, and it's
Women would
surprising.
ask you
They
at the
did.
Kroger's, what?
And I came to really feel that those were divine appointments. And
Yes.
so I was much more bold in the way that I would answer, in a way where I left room for someone to continue asking questions. And I wanted it to be an opportunity. And I felt like there were several times with women where either they would break down into tears because they had had a loss, didn't know the Lord, were really struggling. I was in a bookstore and I saw a woman sitting on the ground crying, and I felt the Lord say to me, go to her,
Go talk to her.
And of course, well, I had a different mission that day, and I needed to be looking for these books that I was looking for. So of course, for 10 minutes I walked around and I said, okay, well, if she's still there, then I'll...
Sometimes we need a little courage, but the Lord gives courage too.
He
to
does,
minister.
and he gave me, this strong feeling that I thought, I'm going to be in disobedience if I don't go back over there. And I did, and she was still sitting in the same place, and I sat down with her, and we just talked, and I noticed what she was holding, and I said, I'm sorry to bother you, and I don't mean to pry, but I see that you're grieving, and I don't know what the circumstances, but we're both looking at books on grieving. And I actually gave her a few Christian books that I had read that were on the shelf, and invited her to come to our church. But really, I tried to approach it as another mother coming to her. It turned out she had lost her son to a freak accident the weekend before. And I just came to see that Audrey's story was such a blessing because it was an easy connecting point.
Angie, thank you. God bless you.
I'm honored that you gave me the opportunity to talk about my daughter. Thank you.
And Todd, thank you.